Okay, the next renderer I'll be covering is our first three-dimensional data renderer. Everything we've been touching so far has only been working on two-dimensional variables, so now we're going to up the ante and go for our first three-dimensional data renderer. And this one is probably the simplest 3D data renderer, the slice renderer. Basically, it just takes a cross-section of your data and renders only that cross-section. So let's jump in. As usual, I'm going to launch Vapor from my command line, but again, you guys can just click your icon wherever it may be from your installation. And I have supplied my data file to the command line like so I don't have to go to my data menu and open my Harvey VDC. So I will maximize my screen, start off with a new image renderer, turn it on, zoom out, and select Big Blue Marble. And again, if this is too fast for you guys, check out, I'll link to the image renderer tutorial below, and that'll give you a more step-by-step process of what I'm doing. So turn off transparency, go to my region, stretch things out so we know where we are in space. Okay, so there we have our canvas for our slice renderer. Let's go turn off the boxes, and then I will click on New, double-click Slice Renderer. Okay, and right off the bat, let's just turn it on, see what we're looking at. So now we have a slice in the middle of our scene, the middle of our z-axis on our x, y plane. We're looking at cloud fraction right now. I'm going to go ahead and change that to w, because why not? And here we have a slice of w, our vertical component of wind velocity. I'm not going to touch data fidelity for the sake of time. I'll go to my Appearance tab, and here we can see our histogram, our distribution of our field of W within this slab. What I'm going to do is I'm going to narrow in our data range into this little witch hat feature by dragging the right extent and the left extent to zoom in to this feature. What I'm going to do next is I typically, with these kind of distributions, I think I might have mentioned this in the intro tutorial with the 2D data renderer, is it's sometimes good, it's a lot of the times good, to mask out the most frequent values in your variables region. I guess what I mean by that is if you have a histogram that looks like this and you have a lot of values at a peak, those values are going to occlude your visualization. They're going to get in the way of other renderers that might be there. And so what you can do is mask them out by turning the opacity down for those values. So right now I'm masking out all the values at the very tip of this peak, and as we diverge from the peak, we slowly get more and more opaque on both sides of the histogram. I want to middle click on my, let's see, if I can get that peak right on the white, then I can delineate the values that are positive versus the values that are negative. So right now I'm assigning blue values to negative, red values to positive. And we can see, I guess, mostly W is pulling up in the eye wall. I guess that makes sense. So there's our basic first slice rendering. One way that the slice renderer does differ from others is if I go to the Geometry tab, we have parameters for the plane orientation. Right now we're looking at an XY plane, but we can also look at XZ and YZ planes. I'll do that in a minute. But before I do that, I want to note the geometry controls. Some of the controls are going to be the same as for other renderers. Like right here we have X and Y, and these are the same as the other renderers we've seen. We can constrain those. But since this is a 3D variable, we have a Z component. And for the slice renderer, there are no extents to our Z component of the domain. There's only one point in the Z axis that we're looking at. So we can control where we are, where our slice renderer is on the Z axis, either with this slider, or we can also go up here and go to our region mode on the upper left, enable our red boxes, and we can right click on these boxes and manipulate the region of interest. I guess left click will drag up and down in this case. So I can also, okay, change the orientation. Right now we're at XY. I can go XZ to get a vertical plane, and then YZ to rotate that by 90 degrees. Let's see, annotations, same as usual. Turn on your color bar that way. And is that it for the slice renderer? One more thing. The slice renderer basically, it has this quality adjustment, and the reason for that is because the way the slice renderer works is that it goes through, it marches through your data at a certain sampling rate. And the quality adjustment determines the sampling rate that your data is being pulled at. So if you're seeing your data appear not quite right, you can turn up the quality adjustment. Vapor will sample your data at a higher rate, but your renderings will slow down. So by default, we have this kind of a arbitrary value of 1, but you can bring it all the way up to 10. But I don't know. Usually I'm okay with 1. And okay, I think that's the basics of the slice renderer. Next, I think I will move on to the, let's see, I can do the isosurface renderer next. So stay tuned and I'll see you guys soon.